Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. This is the main event of the evening. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, we have a mixed martial artist holding a professional record of 14 wins, 1 loss, 1 no contest, weighing in at 175 and 1/2 pounds. Vitor the Phenom Belfort. We'll see if there's any UFC fans in here, otherwise no one will get it. Alrighty, so trades from today. AIFF, we got another gap up. So plan from the watch list yesterday was either a red move, flat open and pull red, or a gap up and using that 5-minute opening range. So right here, I put it to a 5-minute right when the market opens, and we start breaking below. So I short, and we started getting these little wicks and curling back. So I sized down, and then we slammed. So I scaled back. I covered. The cover was before the reshort. So I was short here, I had sized down, so I wasn't full size here, so I covered. It stayed heavy, so I reshorted, and then once we got the flush and higher low, I moved on. PEB, gapper today. We've got a bunch of overhead resistance, and then we've got this channel that I like to talk about. We've got these mid-50s, and basically where that red line is in the mid-60s. So looking for exhaustion up into those levels and fails under those levels. So I was more focused on stuff like AIF off the open, so I wasn't looking at this one squeezing out, but I had it on another chart, and once I saw this crack, I shorted, stayed heavy versus VWAP, scaled, and then added to that winner versus VWAP as a guide, and covered in the 48s. Had one more little leg down, but overall fairly sideways. And then Tivik was my main one today, what I came in prepared for. We're running up into some looking left levels. If you zoom out here to this after hours action, topped out multiple times there at 94s. We got a blowout. I was up fairly early this morning at about 2:30 my time, 5:30 here. I saw this bounce right around $1, but didn't really have a risk level in mind, because if this were to hold and continue higher, I would have just wanted to keep shorting it. The bigger the gap, the better. So I decided to leave it alone and instead watch some webinars and stuff, waited till the open, and reacted to the pop, scaled through opening range lows, added moving risk to highs, covered along the way, rescaled as it's holding red, and then covered. So that was the biggest one of the day, but those were my 3 trades there. Let's just spin through some recent runners here. IVVD far off the highs. BBAI, exactly what would have expected with the gap up. Exact same daily candle as the last 3 times. LTRY, nice save on that sub 160 flush. See if it starts to act as resistance and roll over, or if it wants to reclaim. But just a recent runner off highs. MGOL had a nice breakout today. 76 was the breakout level. So as it started to grind up into it, that's just too far away from a low a day risk for me to chase. So I just let it do its thing. Was keeping an eye on OMGA as a potential sympathy, which it did start to move with it, and then MGOL had a death candle right around there, right here. So that one lost its momentum. But it's still holding up, but would need to see it start to build over 26. MGOL did still close up in the 80s, so it's gapping down so far. If this starts to fail into those mid-70s, that breakout level starts to fail. I think the momentum's kind of shot on that. CYN, that thing's way too far off its highs. Went from 5 cents to 30 cents. Now 3 days of pullback, so technically fits a first green day, but nothing I'm going to trade. As we went over yesterday, AIF volume keeps diminishing, which is why I thought this favored a sell-side bias today. Was because of that diminishing volume off the open. If you look like this, excuse me. Once it starts getting some sell pressure, there's no more demand in the name. So I felt like it was going to continue to fail, but chopped around a bit too much. So I think I would need to see it red. If it goes red, I'd try it one more time. But it's not really an A+ at this point. Yes, it's extended, but I wouldn't call it an A+. I'm thinking we could get into these like mid-11s as a possible guide. So see if it starts to fail, maybe a pop up into these looking left levels, over under 16s, and then look for some failed fall through. Would need to see it red now. I've traded my opening range breakdowns, and it pulled back, but not a whole lot for a momentum shift, so see if red does it. Dom H, this one rebroke out today, right through those mid-11s. Wild comeback. What was the breakout on that? 1133. Broke out late day. Up at 15 after hours. Just insane. So at this point, all you can hope for is this breakout and let it continue. If this gap's up to 20 tomorrow, I'd likely look to short it, but anything short of that, not super interested. XLO. Not doing much. Tivik, I think this could have a follow-through red day if this 64 level broke. So looking left, that was the daily breakout level. And looking left yesterday was the morning highs and the afternoon breakout level. And now was today's low over under. So could see like an 80 exhaust, but would need to see 64s fail for confirmation. I think we could get down sub 50. But what's been working lately is not the first red days, but that day is kind of like transition, where longs start to sell, shorts start to come in, everybody chops each other back and forth, and then the next day is that quiet idea. So possible follow-through red day there. SPGC, not doing much. Kidley. I'd like to bounce this one for a backside bounce, but I'd prefer it to fade a little bit. One more day. I think reward potential would be like this 350 area, where you get prior resistance, prior support, and then resistance again. So ideally we can get a fade back towards $2 or so, and then maybe on Monday look for a bounce. NKGN, I'm going to set like some 80-cent price alerts on this one. Go. There's just a fairly muted range on it. You can see that it kind of gave back its entire day. So it traded 80 million shares, and then on 6 million. It trades more than half that range, giving it all back. So zooming in to like an intradaily, you can see it's topped out at this 80-cent level a bunch of times. So it's not extended enough to short, so I'll just set some price alerts higher. Serve, man, nice idea on it yesterday. I was talking with Kellogg about it today. He likes the idea. We finally got that 2150 break today. Pushed out into it into the morning and failed. So I didn't take a position. It didn't start to build over that key level I identified. And then late day started to break it. So I don't have a position on it yet, but I'm definitely interested in all week opens at this point. Try and use a wide enough risk to stay in the name. I think it's like possible like multi-week swing. But dips towards 2150s. I like for a watch. I think I'd like a flat open and then a straight down morning panic right into these low 21s so that you get those wicks on the daily. Ideally gets bought up. PEV still up 75%. Exhaustion through 50 cents. If we get an open right around here, a shove, 50, 52 blowout, and then sit back, I think could have follow through red day. AMOD topped out right at looking left resistance. This 380s was that day's VWAP, and this 550s was that day's highs. And we started topping out right here. I started looking for shares to short. They were a bit expensive, so I decided to just leave it alone. Blew through it, sit back, over under held, blew out through the 550s, and then that one acted as a top. So decent little fader. Nate had a nice call on that trend join, nice and early. I don't really like to long names, even if they're former runners that have crazy overhead resistance, but he was comparing that daily to AIF, so it's fairly similar. So I see what he's looking at, but just not really for me. MBRX started to go parabolic here today. Same kind of thing. Borrows were a bit scarce, but I was looking at this parabolic for a possible short, and it was just a bit too halty. Prior close at like 40 cents. So once it starts getting into those ones, it's just a halt fest. So this one's still up 230%. So higher the better. Failed follow through. Everybody's underwater off of this VWAP level. You can see the volume profile here. Prior support became resistance. So higher the better. 180s, maybe a 2 blowout, something like that. I like for a short. Just keeping in mind that it's up from 40 cents. So it's got room. And then BSLK was a percent gainer from today. Highs here at 98. Right there. Started to break out here late day, but not a history of multi-day runs, history of one and done fails. So see where this one goes, but I think I'd trade this one the same as Tivik, where yes, it is breaking out, but a history of fails. So the higher it gaps, the more I like it for a short trade. So quite the list, but narrow it down to a few. Do you think today's action on AIF would negatively affect odds of a first red day? I feel like a gap up, flush, and bounce back support is a lot different than the gap up, push, and sit back. Seems like everyone price sensitive would get out into the flush versus the big turn. Still feel like a lot on the table and we'll trade tomorrow, but may not be as ideal. 100%. Yeah, the action on AIF is not A+. It's not an ideal first red day at this point. Typically, these opening range breakdowns, even on like an overextension blowout, you need volume to exhaust up into those highs. So it started to do it. You got some sell side imbalance off the open. Everybody's starting to hammer it. Maybe some profit takers, maybe some shorts piling in. But it's clearly weak. Pops first VWAP. Once this swipe comes in, that's all dips are covers at that point. It's not really an interest for me. So if I'm looking to trade that again, it likely wouldn't be a sizable trade for me. But see if that sort of trend starts to fail, maybe breaks below these 14s, 15s, and can get a trade there. But we'll see. It's definitely not A+ anymore. What's up, Jeff? Pretty sure the market is closed on Monday. Oh, is it? I know it's a holiday in Canada. We call it Family Day. Let's take a look. January, February. Monday, February 17th. Washington's birthday. Yep. It is indeed. Good call, Tina. I was going to mention as well, I'll be out of town all week next week. Partially for that Traders for a Cause meetup, but I've also got a bunch of other stuff going on, so I will not be home. I will be traveling, meeting up with some traders, and doing some activities. So I'm up in the air. If I have watch lists next week, we'll see. They'll be. I'm not really gonna force myself to hop on and stick to that schedule next week. I'm gonna have one laptop. I'm not gonna have my full screen set up. I'm not gonna have my mic with me. So one laptop, running a bunch of software, trying to live stream, all that kind of stuff, and then having a bunch of other friends and people around, versus just being at home and alone. So it's up in the air whether if I hop on one, it'll be random, but I likely don't do one every day next week. I have priorities other than this that I think could take precedent. So just a heads up, anyone live or anyone watching it coming up, just be forewarned. Enjoy your time with friends. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Appreciate that. SPAI got some low volume spiking on CSAI sympathy. Indeed. CSAI is wacky. I don't want to touch that thing with a 10-foot pole. Safe travels. Have fun. Thank you. Appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you. Yeah, so as far as watches go, mains tomorrow will likely be... I'll throw AIF on there just because it is still extended. Its RSI is still 90 plus, and its 4 EMA is still sitting in the 11s. So I would still call it extended given the indicators, no matter how I feel about it. And I think just the way this daily chart is, I think shorts are starting to get tired and exhausted. If you've seen like Madaz posts on Twitter, he's been getting bent up on this thing. So shorts could be getting exhausted, ready to give up, which might give a trade. So I'll put that one on watch. Tivik, possible follow through. PEV, possible follow through. And MBRX, higher the better. So all of these, I've probably got 5 or 6 watches, but I'll likely be wiping a few of them off based on how they gap. Like if MBRX gaps down like sub $1, I'll take it off watch. Unless I can get some sort of pops, then I'm not going to chase it lower. So that's an example. Or like if Tivik, if this thing gaps down to mid 50s, I'm not going to short it. But if I can get what I'm looking for out of it, then I'll keep these things on watch and look to trade them tomorrow. So AIF, possible first red day. Tivik, possible follow through second red day. PEV, possible red day. MBRX, higher the better, failed follow through. BSLK, ideally gap up, parabolic. Serve, weak opens, red to green. Dips versus 2150, and then big picture 24 breakout. Kedley, lower the better, possible backside bounce. So those are probably them. Quite the list, but there's a lot of stuff moving. And like I say, by the open, I'll probably have one or two I'm watching just based on how everything's gapping. So we'll see what's up. But yeah, I'm good with leaving it there. Let's wrap it up. Call it an evening, call it a weekend. Long week ahead of me. Yeah, cool. Thank you guys. I appreciate your guys' appreciation too. I don't mind doing this stuff at all. It's fun for me. It makes it more fun when you guys enjoy it and can get some chit chat back and forth talking shop. So thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great weekend, long weekend, and I will see you guys at some point when I'm back. Alrighty, take it easy. Peace.